Hey everybody, welcome, welcome to Hidden Horror. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate that. Let's get started. Good afternoon. Hey everybody. Welcome to Hidden Horror. Today I'm here. There is another lawsuit, a lawsuit where there was a default judgment because there was no response by Sean Combs. And the default judgment was for $100 million. So I want to bring you this information. I wanted to get into a few of the details of the lawsuit. Pretty much Sean Combs is trying to have the default judgment set aside, and there was also with the default judgment a restraining order, a temporary restraining order placed, and he wants that also removed or set aside. So let's get into this one. Another lawsuit. I stopped, honestly, I stopped keeping track of them because there has just been numerous lawsuits, similar allegations, allegations of drugging, sexual assault, um, sexual trafficking, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll just go over this one briefly. The article comes from theguardian.com. It's titled Sean Diddy Combs Lawyers Move to Overturn $100 million Award Over Assault Case. The article is from September 13th, 2024, and it's written by Richard Luscombe. Lawyers for Sean Diddy Combs have moved to overturn a $100 million judgment awarded this week to a Michigan prison inmate who accused the music mogul of sexual assault 27 years ago. So the allegations are that 27 years ago, back in the late 1990s, they're alleging that there was a sexual assault and drugging. Okay. Two emergency motions filed at Lenawee County Circuit Court accused Derrick Lee Cardello-Smith of launching a frivolous lawsuit against the entertainer who they insist he never met. So in this lawsuit, Mr. Cardello-Smith is making these allegations, and Sean Combs, his response, although late, is he never met Mr. Cardello-Smith. He never met him, so he believes and asserts that this lawsuit is a frivolous lawsuit. Now, I don't know how many people keep records. 27 years is a long time, right? But does he have any evidence? Does he have any proof of their meeting, their encounter? Were there any pictures or video taken? I remember in one of the lawsuits, there were pictures from the late 1990s supporting those allegations that they did meet, that she was at certain locations. So that kind of gave that lawsuit more credibility. Now, in this lawsuit, because there was a default judgment due to no response, I believe the response was due last week, and there was no response, so a default judgment was entered. So he's trying to get that set aside. But is there any supportive documents or evidence to show that Mr. Combs actually met Mr. Cardello-Smith? They had connected at this party where he's alleging he was drugged and also assaulted. He didn't have to necessarily prove it because there was a default judgment for no response. Okay, so let's continue. Cardello-Smith 51 accused Combs of drugging and sexually molesting him at a party in Detroit in 1997 and won a default award at a virtual hearing on Monday when neither the three-time Grammy winner nor his lawyers showed up to contest the allegations. So let me explain a little bit more of this. So molesting is touching. So it does not appear that Mr. Cardello-Smith is alleging any penetration. Molesting is touching, okay? So we'll just set that to the side. The other part is the hearing was held. It was a virtual hearing, so by Mr. Combs or no one representing him appearing, that's how the default judgment was entered. So he's right now trying to have an emergency motion to now deal with this legal matter because now it has also made a press run and it's all over the news and there's articles about it. So he may have learned possibly about the lawsuit and the judgment like many of us, right? Just from going online, reading the news daily. I don't know. I would be surprised if he would not respond to a lawsuit, um, especially and more particular if he's asserting he never met this person. I believe he would have responded. So my assumption would be that he was not aware of this lawsuit that was filed in the state of Michigan with these allegations. Okay, so let's continue. The action was one of at least 8 other lawsuits filed in recent months against Combs, a rapper, producer, and businessman. The most recent complaint was lodged the day after the Cardello-Smith judgment when Don Richer, a singer in the former Combs founded girl group, Danity Kane, sued for sexual assault and inhumane treatment. So I am familiar with the group Danity Kane. I have some background because I did watch the show when there was a TV show called Making the Band, where Mr. Combs he was selecting amongst many contestants a group and forming a music group. This particular group, Danity Kane, was a all-female group, and Dawn Richards, she was one of the singers. So this lawsuit will have an approach of an artist, and this is your boss. Okay, this is not a boyfriend girlfriend relationship. This will be, in my opinion, a artist. So I'm assuming, I haven't looked at the lawsuit yet, but I'm assuming that the lawsuit will involve the record companies, maybe even the television company. I believe it was on MTV at the time. Don't quote me. But um, I'm sure that there are going to be multiple entities, businesses tied into this lawsuit because she was one of the artists assigned to this group through the Making the Band show. And that group was formed by Sean Combs and it was titled Danity Kane. I believe that Don Richard gave the group the name. I don't remember because it's some years back, but I am going to talk in a separate video about the lawsuit that Don Richard is bringing forth because those allegations, I'm sure, are going to relate to her interactions with Mr. Combs as it relates to her being an artist because that's how she's connected to him. So I will do a separate video on that. This particular video, Mr. Cardello-Smith is alleging that he was at a party and this is how he was allegedly drugged and molested by Mr. Combs, okay, allegedly. So I'll do a separate video regarding Miss Richard. Lawyers for Combs did not comment on the new filings, but in their second motion, they blasted the plaintiff while aiming to dissolve a temporary restraining order granted against their client as part of the judgment Cardello-Smith won by default. Um, Maybe the restraining order was requested because in some of the past news coverage, there have been some rumblings that Mr. Combs would, connect and contact the victims. Maybe this person, although he is incarcerated, maybe he didn't want to be approached or contacted, or he didn't want to be offered some type of settlement or mediation. So maybe that's why he obtained a temporary restraining order. I'm not sure about that part, but I'm sure, you know, that's also something that Mr. Combs is wanting to have dropped. So I'll continue. This is a frivolous lawsuit against a prominent businessman based on obvious fabrications filed by a convicted rapist and serial litigant with an overactive imagination and a thirst for fame, Mark Agnifilo, Combs' lawyer wrote. Okay. So again, there is an assertion that these are lies, that these statements have been fabricated, and that the alleged victim, Mr. Cardello-Smith, is a convicted rapist and serial litigant. I did not try to look into his background, as he would be considered the plaintiff, the victim, but Mr. Combs' attorney is quoted as making these statements. Continuing on, Combs learned about plaintiff and this action for the first time 3 days ago when media outlets reported that this court had entered a $100 million default judgment against him. Had the complaint been served and it was not, it would nonetheless be subject to swift dismissal on the merits. So again, Combs is, asserting that this is not true, that they did not have knowledge of it, that they were not served, and that this judgment that was entered, is not going to be proper because he was never served about the lawsuit. He had no knowledge of the lawsuit, and that if he did, he would have requested that the case be dismissed, probably for a lack of evidence. It was that it's meritless. I do want to kind of say that, to me personally, that makes more sense because he has defended the various lawsuits and he's in litigation with multiple cases. And if he is asserting that he never met Mr. Cardello-Smith, that this is a fabricated case, it's meritless, it's lies, I don't understand why he would not have had his attorneys respond to the lawsuit, file a motion to dismiss, etc. It just doesn't make sense to me. And now that he's stating that he was never served, and he, like I kind of imagine, he found out about the lawsuit through the media, through the news, through the sharing of the news, the reports. That's how he found out about the lawsuit. So it makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, let's move forward. Even if every wholly impossible and obviously fabricated allegation in the complaint were true, the action would still be completely non-viable because the statute of limitations on the claims asserted expired almost 17 years before the case was filed. So I'm freezing, so I'm going to share my screen just to put something up. I do have a picture of Mr. Combs prepared. So I'll post that. I'll raise that up. So again, Mr. Combs is saying that even if this lawsuit facts and allegations were true in the complaint, the statute of limitations to even file a claim expired almost 17 years ago. So he does not have the ability to sue for these allegations because the statute of limitations has passed, it's already run out. Okay, let's continue. Combs' attorney said Cardello-Smith's complaint was objectively unbelievable and incoherent. They also asserted that the plaintiff had a history of filing frivolous lawsuits. They specifically cited a fantastical claim by the plaintiff that he paid Combs $150,000 for a 49% share in the entertainer's net worth. Now, to me, that doesn't make sense. $150,000. That is a lot of money, but that's not a lot of money to Sean Combs. And if he's trying to get his net worth, 49% of it for $150,000, to me, that does not make a lot of sense. But I don't know. Let's continue. A 2022 estimate by Forbes valued the rapper's fortune at $1 billion. And despite losing his billionaire status because of his legal troubles, he is still worth an estimated $800 million. Yeah. Okay. The Little Rock County Circuit Court Judge Anna Marie Anzolin has not stated when she will consider the emergency motions. Before the $100 million judgment, she issued an order preventing Combs from selling any assets that might have helped him raise funds for any damages the court found him liable for. So this is another lawsuit. There's already been a default judgment entered. Mr. Combs has now taken legal action to file two emergency motions to have the default judgment set aside, and he's asserting that he never met Mr. Cardello-Smith and that the allegations that are being put forth have been fabricated, that they are not true. I will bring, of course, an update as this case continues, as well as some of the other cases. And then again, I'm going to do a separate video for the case that was recently filed by Don Richard. She was, again, a part of the all-girl group that was created. It was called Danity Kane, and now she is making allegations of sexual assault against Mr. Combs. I will discuss that entire case filing in a separate video. So thank you for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. I want you to stay smart, stay safe, stay savvy, be well, all my friends, and I will see you in a video soon. Bye, everybody.